We're starting slowly but surely to move into our entire new setup. So, thank you for joining Wisdom today. Over the last 3 weeks, we have been dealing with a topic that is, I would say, easy to underestimate and very dangerous to ignore. And that was a topic of offense. And if you don't know what we're talking about, you can head up over to our YouTube channel or our socials, join our newsletter. This is Wisdom. Wisdom is a series where we talk about business to the entrepreneur, business in the way that Solomon used to do things, applying that business in our daily lives to see, how it impacts us and this kingdom businesses that we're busy building. And each week has a live new topic on its own. The past 3 weeks, we talked about the topic of offense. Now, on our YouTube channel, all three topics are there. It's 30 minutes at the longest. I think one episode was 10 minutes long. It's also up on our the studio channels with a podcast and everything. So today, every fourth week with Wisdom, we do a Q&A. The entrepreneurs that join Wisdom live get the opportunity to submit their questions via our newsletter and everything like that. And we discuss this right here. It's our max time is 30 minutes. We'll be done and over with. And that was on the topic of offense the last 3 weeks. And wasn't not offense as in someone irritated you and now you need a kind of like a motivational quote. I mean, offense is a deep trap of the heart, the kind that changes how you see people, how you fear and hear feedback, how you lead your team, how you treat clients, and how you parent, how you love your spouse, and how you build your business. In week one, we introduced the idea that offense is commonly misunderstood because it often arrives disguised as justice. It feels justified. It feels logical. It feels like discernment, but very often it is not discernment at all. It is a wound asking for permission to become a world view. In week two, we zoomed into the entrepreneur inside the workplace. We looked at how offense shows up in client relationships, team communications, hiring decisions, leadership tones, partnerships, and new ventures. We saw that an offended entrepreneur does not simply feel hurt, an offended entrepreneur interprets everything through hurt. Feedback becomes disrespect, delay becomes rejection, questions become challenges, and pushback becomes betrayal. Then in week three, we move towards the healing side of things because awareness is not enough, right? Seeing the trap is not freedom. Freedom comes when we allow God to deal with what is underneath this, the reaction, the old wound, the past betrayal, the disappointment, the insecurity, the place where our pain has been quietly making decisions on our behalf. So today we're doing the Q&A. These are the questions entrepreneurs should be asking and did ask if they want to take this seriously. Not surface level questions, not the kind people ask because they want to sound mature. These are the questions that expose whether we are actually ready to become wiser leaders. So thank you so much for joining in today. We're going to look at 5 questions. If we run out of times, because we did do one promise on our channels and said the live segment will be 30 minutes. I think there was one time that we went over it, and we really want to respect people's time with this. This is a live segment. The full segment is on our YouTube channels. And please, if you've got questions or want to know more about what this wisdom is or anything, want to contribute, want to ask, want to see how you can apply biblical wisdom, Solomon's wisdom in your business and actually see the fruit thereof. I work with entrepreneurs on a daily basis. We're busy scaling a lot of companies, building a lot of companies, and we see the fruit if it's built on that wisdom, and we see what happens when it's not. So thank you so much for joining in this morning. Let's go for the first question. Question number 1 is, how do I know whether I'm genuinely discerning something or whether I am just offended? Talking about the topic of offense here. And this is probably one of the most important questions we can ask because offense loves to dress itself up as wisdom. And I think that's the trap at the end of the day. Talking about this trap, right? By the way, this 3-day series or 3-week series was all based on John Bevere's book of the bait of Satan, which talks about the trap of offense. So that's what I'm talking about when I say the trap. And very few people walk around saying, I'm bitter, I'm wounded, and emotionally reactive. No, we say things like, I just have a strong sense about this person, or I can read people, or I'm protecting my peace, or I've learned not to trust easily. And sometimes that might be true. There is such a thing as discernment, after all. There is such a thing as wisdom. There is such a thing as noticing patterns and protecting yourself from foolishness. I mean, I love human behavioral sciences. I love to see how people act and react based on certain elements. But the question is, what is the fruit? Discernment produces clarity. Offense produces suspicion. Discernment helps you see reality more accurately, where offense makes you interpret reality through pain. Discernment can still love, offense withdraws love. Discernment can have a difficult conversation, whereas offense builds a private courtroom and starts collecting evidence. So here's a practical test I would actually use in this scenario. When I think about this person, that has offended me, this type of person, or this client, this team member, this partner or situation, am I becoming clearer or calmer and wiser, or am I becoming more irritated and more defensive and more closed, right? Building up that walls. Because wisdom does not need emotional chaos to function. If every thought about someone increases your frustration, chances are you're not only discerning, you actually may be offended. And another test is whether you are actually or still able to pray for them, like from an honest point of view, not the fake Christian version of prayer where you basically ask God to humble them publicly while pretending to be spiritual. I mean, can you genuinely pray for their good? Can you ask God to bless them, guide them, correct them, and also correct you if needed, and most probably needed? And that is where offense gets exposed, because offense does not want healing, it wants agreement. It wants people around you to say, you are right, they are wrong, you are the victim, you can stay angry. But wisdom is more interested in truth than emotional comfort. Proverbs says that it is to a person's glory to overlook offense. That does not mean ignoring sin or tolerating abuse or pretending there are no problems. It means a wise person is not easily ruled by insult or by irritation or emotional injury. In business, this actually matters massively. A client questions your price. Discernment will ask, is there a value gap I need to explain better? Offense says, they don't respect me. A team member challenges your idea. Discernment will ask, is there something I'm missing? Or as offense will say, they undermining me. A partner delays a decision, and I'm talking about a business partner or marital partner, any partner delays that decision. Discernment asks, what is happening on their side? Whereas offense says, they're wasting my time. The wise entrepreneur learns to slow the interpretation down. Do not immediately trust your first emotional reading of a situation. Your first reaction is often not wisdom, it's often history speaking through the kind of like the present moment. So the answer is this. Discernment brings truth with peace. Offense brings accusation with emotional heat. And if you are serious about wisdom, you need to be honest enough to tell the difference. I'm going to look at question 2 here. What do I do when someone really did hurt me, betray me, or treat me unfairly? This is where we need to be very careful, because sometimes Christian teaching on forgiveness gets handled very badly. And when handled badly, it makes people feel like forgiveness means pretending nothing happened. And that is not biblical wisdom. That is emotional denial with church vocab sprinkled all over on the top, because apparently even avoidance needs branding, right? If someone hurt you, betrayed you, lied to you, stole from you, undermined you, manipulated you, or damaged your trust, that actually matters. Wisdom does not minimize reality. The Bible never asks us to call evil good. It never asks us to pretend betrayal is harmless. It never asks us to remove boundaries from unsafe people. Forgiveness is not the same as denial. Forgiveness is not the same as reconciliation. Forgiveness is not the same as immediate trust. Forgiveness is the decision to release the debt of vengeance and surrender justice to God while still walking forward in wisdom. That and that distinction actually matters, because many entrepreneurs have real wounds. A business partner acted dishonestly, a client refused to pay, a staff member betrayed confidence, a family member mocked the dream, a leader misused authority, a friend disappeared when things got hard. Those things are real, but here's the danger. If you do not deal with the wound starts managing future relationships. You begin punishing new people for old pain. You treat the next client like the last dishonest client. You treat the next employee like the one who betrayed you. Treat the next opportunity like the last few failure. And that is when the original hurt multiplies, not because they hurt you again, but because the hurt is now shaping your operating system. So, what do? First, name what actually happened. And I'm talking about truthfully, not dramatically, truthfully. This hurt me. This broke trust. This made me afraid. This changed how I see people. There's power in honest naming, not because we want to worship the wound, but because we cannot heal what we refuse to acknowledge. Second, take it to God without polishing it. Many people pray like they are issuing a press release, clean, controlled, impressive, useless, right? Real prayer can be honest. The Psalms are full of raw language, hurt, confusion, anger, grief, longing, repentance. God is not intimidated by your honesty. He already knows what is there. You are the one catching up. Third, choose forgiveness as obedience, not as a feeling. If you wait until you feel ready to forgive, you may wait forever. Forgiveness is often um, begins before the emotion agrees. It is an act of trust. It says, God, I release my right to become judge, become the jury, and the executioner over this person's life. And fourth, I would say apply boundaries where needed. Don't do it as a stock standard or as as the go-to where needed. Forgiveness does not mean giving a foolish person the same access. Proverbs is very clear about wisdom. It's clear about counsel, about caution, and avoiding destructive people. You can forgive someone who still change the terms of access. Fifth, allow wise people to help you process, not gossip partners, not people who simply feel your resentment. Wise counsel, people who love truth more than trauma. About 4 or 5 weeks ago in this wisdom series, once again on our YouTube channel and on our newsletter, you'll see the links to the previous wisdom series. We talked about selecting the counsel, applying this counsel in your business ventures, and how important that is to make a success of your business or of your ventures. And this falls directly within that, because people who can say, yes, that was wrong, and also, but your heart still needs healing, that is kind of like the balance. For the entrepreneur, this is critical because unresolved hurt becomes expensive. It affects culture, it affects trust, it affects decision making, it affects your home, it affects your energy. So if someone really hurt you, do not pretend it didn't happen, but also do not let it become the architect of your future. Take it seriously. And take it seriously enough to actually heal at the end of the day. The third question on this topic of offense was, how do I handle offense in my team without creating a soft culture where everyone is oversensitive? And this is a brilliant question because naturally humans can ruin both sides of a good principle. On one side, some leaders ignore offense completely. They say people must toughen up. So they build harsh cultures where people stop speaking honestly because everything gets dismissed as weakness. But on the other side, some leaders build hypersensitive cultures where everything feeling becomes a verdict and every discomfort becomes a crisis. And that also doesn't work. It creates fragility, not maturity. Wisdom is neither harsh nor fragile. A wise culture is emotionally honest and responsibility driven. That means people are allowed to speak about tension, but they are not allowed to weaponize their feelings. They are allowed to say that conversation affected me because not allowed to say because I felt hurt. You are automatically guilty. And that distinction is everything. In a healthy business culture, offense must be addressed early, clearly, directly, and maturely. The goal is not to eliminate all conflict. That will just be ridiculous. A business without conflict is either dead, fake, or run by people who have mastered the I would say dark art of pretending. Healthy teams will have tension. They will disagree. They will challenge one another. They will misunderstand one another. The goal is not no tension. The goal is clean tension. Clean tension means we can disagree without dishonoring. We can clarify without attacking. We can correct without humiliating. We can receive feedback without collapsing into defensiveness. As a leader, you set that tone. If you are easily offended, your team becomes careful around you. They stop bringing honest feedback. They stop challenging ideas. They begin managing your mood instead of doing their best thinking. That's quite dangerous. A founder with an easily bruised ego becomes a bottleneck for truth. And when truth cannot move freely in a company, the company becomes weaker. So, practically, what do you build? You build a culture where clarification is normal instead of allowing people to carry assumptions. Instead of that, you would actually teach them to ask, what did you mean by that? Or can we clarify what happened? Or I might be reading this wrong, but this is how I experienced this conversation. That's kind of like where you would navigate them. That is mature. You also build a culture where feedback is not treated as rejection. Feedback is data, sometimes uncomfortable data, but still data. A team member giving feedback is not necessarily being disloyal. Sometimes they are the only person brave enough to tell you what everyone else is quietly thinking. You also build a culture where apologies are normal. Leaders must model this. If you were sharp, own it. If you were misunderstood, own it. If you made a poor call, own it. Nothing makes a team healthier faster than a leader who can say, I was wrong, without turning it into a dramatic spiritual documentary. And finally, you must not tolerate bitterness disguised as concern. This happens often. Someone says, I'm just worried about the culture, but really they are spreading suspicion. Someone says people are saying, but never names who. Someone says, I just think leadership should know, but they are actually recruiting people into their kind of like offense. And that must be dealt with because offense spreads fast. A healthy culture does not silence pain, it processes pain truthfully. And that's the difference. So, no, dealing with offense does not mean creating a soft culture, it means creating a mature one. And a mature culture outperforms fragile ones because people can tell the truth without fear and receive the truth without falling apart. Let's see if there's time for the last two questions. There's two more questions. I'm going to do one more. I'm going to give the other one on my newsletter. So please, if you are joining this journey, please join our newsletter. We've got a couple of free webinars, building your business, teaching you how to build a business, giving a business away for free even. There's so much happening in there in the space of wisdom. So if you've got no idea what I'm talking about, DM me. I'll send you the links. Otherwise, just check on our socials for the links. And so, yeah, just bless you guys for this morning. Thank you for being here. And the fourth question is, how do I stop carrying old wounds into new business relationships and partnerships and opportunities? And this question matters because many entrepreneurs are not only trying to build a future, they're also trying to outrun a past. And the past is annoyingly athletic when ignored. Old wounds will follow very quietly. They show up when you negotiate, they show up when someone delays payment, they show up when a partner asks for more information, they show up when a team member disagrees with you. They show up when your spouse asks a simple question and somehow gets the full emotional invoice from a completely unrelated business trauma. And that is what unhealed offense does. It migrates. So, how do you stop carrying it? You start by recognizing the patterns. Ask yourself, where do I consistently overreact? Because your overreactions often reveal your unhealed places. If a small comment creates a massive internal response, there's probably a lot of history right there in that space. And if feedback feels like rejection, there's history there. If accountability feels like control, there is history there. If a client questions or a client's question feels like disrespect, there will also be history right over there. It's not about condemning yourself, it is about becoming aware. Awareness is mercy. It gives you a chance to change before you damage something. The second step is separating the current person from the previous wound. And this is practical, but it's also powerful. Before reacting, ask, am I responding to this person or am I responding to someone from my past, kind of like through this person, right? That question alone can save relationships. Just want to check here. Because sometimes the person in front of you is not actually the enemy. They are just standing in the emotional shadow of someone else. Third, build a practical practice of reflection. Entrepreneurs love action. Reflection feels slow, but without reflection, you keep repeating expensive patterns at higher levels. At the end of a week, you need to ask yourself, where did I feel defensive? Where did I assume negative intent? Where did I withdraw instead of clarify? Where did I punish someone? Kind of like silently. Where did I avoid a conversation because I did not want to feel exposed? Those questions are not fluffy, they are leadership maintenance. The fourth is invite that wise counsel that we spoke about earlier on. You need people who can help you see what you cannot see. Not fans, not followers, not employees who are scared of your mood, not friends who disagree with your worst instincts. Wise people. People who can say, I understand why that hurt you, but I think you are reading this through an old wound. That kind of a friend is irritating. Keep them. Fifth, renew your mind on a biblical standard, biblically. This is not just emotional work, it is spiritual formation. You have to let scripture retrain how you interpret people. Proverbs teaches restraint. Jesus teaches forgiveness. Paul teaches humility, patience, and bearing with one another. Paul, of all people. James teaches slowness to speak and slowness to anger. These are not decorative verses for war art, they are operating instructions for a sane life. The entrepreneur who stops carrying old wounds becomes freer to collaborate, freer to lead, freer to trust wisely, freer to take risks, and freer to love people without constantly preparing for betrayal. And that does not mean becoming naive. It means becoming healed enough that wisdom, not fear, makes your decisions. The fifth question that we're going to answer later through our newsletter is the question, what does freedom from offense actually look like in real life? That question, unfortunately, we do not have time for today. So thank you for joining Wisdom. Please join our newsletter. It's completely for free. It's business related. It's wisdom related. It's faith related. There's so much nuggets for the person wanting to start a business and the person in business to apply these type of things. The newsletter are up on everywhere on socials. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, want an easy route, just comment newsletter. I'll share to you personally with a question, with the answer to the next question as well. Thank you for being here this morning and enjoy the rest of your day. Wisdom is every morning, or sorry, every Tuesday, this time slot, every week, with a lot of more content throughout the week. Not all live, we only have 2 live segments. So, yeah, it was actually a blessing having everyone here. Cheers. Thank you.